Before we begin, understand this: these are not just stories. These are people, begging, crying, misunderstood. If you believe the truth matters, if you believe accountability must be more than a word, then subscribe. These voices deserve to be heard. He couldn't speak. He couldn't run. He couldn't even ask for help. Victor Perez had the mind of a 5-year-old and the body of a scared teenager, standing on his own front lawn, clutching a kitchen knife in confusion. Police pulled up, shouted once, and within 15 seconds, they shot him 9 times. He never even had a chance to understand what was happening. Victor Perez lived in Pocatello, Idaho. On April 5, 2025, a neighbor called police reporting a domestic disturbance. Victor, who has nonverbal autism and cerebral palsy, stood in his front yard holding a kitchen knife that he often wielded when confused, his family's only way of communication. Family members pleaded with officers to understand. They explained Victor's cognitive disability, his inability to follow verbal commands. But no de-escalation occurred. Body cam footage and witness video shows officers exiting their patrol cars with guns drawn. Victor remained motionless behind a chain-link fence, knife in hand. Within 12 to 15 seconds, he made a small move forward and was met with gunfire. No tasers, no warning shots, no non-lethal attempts. He was struck by at least 9 rounds, including one hitting his femur so badly his leg had to be amputated. Victor was declared brain dead and taken off life support April 12, 2025, a week after the shooting. The incident remained out of public view until the body cam footage was released. The video sparked outrage nationwide, especially because Victor's mother described him as having the mental capacity of a 5-year-old, completely unable to understand orders shouted at him. Local protests erupted outside the Pocatello Police Department. Neighbors demanded justice for a boy who never asked for trouble, only help. Victor's family filed a federal wrongful death lawsuit. No criminal charges were announced, though the incident is under review by the Idaho Critical Incident Task Force. Critics questioned whether officers followed protocols for handling mental health crises, even when disability was clearly stated on the 911 call. There was no body cam de-escalation shift, no verbal validation, just gunfire. No speech, no warnings, no negotiation. Victor couldn't ask for help, and they fired first. The footage shows a frightened boy, alone behind a fence, while multiple officers point weapons. Seconds later, he's bleeding on the ground. His family held him as he died, far too young, far too soon. Victor's aunt told reporters, he had the mind of a 5-year-old, they should have known. That reality haunts every second of the video. This isn't about danger, it's about misunderstanding. A childlike mind armed only with fear, facing trained officers without empathy or patience. Victor's silence was met with bullets, not compassion. But what happens when someone can ask for help, and they still get killed? That's exactly what happened to Christian Glass, a 22-year-old who dialed 911 looking for help, and never lived to tell anyone what happened next. He made a heart shape with his hands. He begged them not to hurt him. He prayed out loud as glass shattered around him. Christian Glass was alone, afraid, and spiraling into a mental health crisis when he called 911 for help. What he got instead was a bullet through his chest. His final words? "Lord, hear me." In June 2022, Christian Glass was driving through the Rocky Mountains near Silver Plume, Colorado, when his SUV became stuck on a dirt roadway. Alone, distressed, he called 911 for help. On the line, he described hearing voices, fears of being followed, and expressed that he was scared and paranoid, signs of a mental health crisis. Responding officers arrived. Christian remained inside his vehicle, holding a small knife, non-threatening, offered for surrender. He had experience as an amateur geologist, even displayed crystal specimens to pass time. While waiting, he made heart shapes with his hands at the officers, seeking connection, not confrontation. The body cam tape reveals officers shouting commands, 46 times in 10 minutes, demanding Christian exit his vehicle. Yet they made no effort to allow him to surrender weapons, which he'd offered multiple times. Instead, beanbag rounds and a taser were deployed, then they broke the rear window. As glass shattered, Christian flung the knife outward, never no contact, just confusion. A deputy then stood on the hood of the SUV. Within seconds, shots rang out. 5 rounds were fired. In an instant, a frightened young man was shot dead. He was pronounced dead at the scene. Footage leaked online. Christian's parents, Sally and Simon, watched it hidden from the public eye, then shared it, hoping for justice. They called their son, terrified and confused, not combative. National outrage ignited. Critics pointed to the lack of patience, the failure to recognize a mental health crisis, and the absence of true de-escalation. In 2025, former Deputy Andrew Bune was convicted of criminally negligent homicide, a rare officer conviction, after a second jury found him guilty. He was sentenced to 3 years in prison, the maximum under state law. Meanwhile, 6 other officers faced charges for failing to intervene, a duty to stop excessive force, but most accepted plea deals requiring training participation. Charges were later dismissed for many, as part of negotiated agreements. Christian's family reached a $19 million settlement, believed to be one of the largest police-related payouts in Colorado history. The agreement mandates statewide reforms, mandatory crisis response training, crisis intervention certification, and creation of a mental health-focused virtual reality program for all deputies. The case became a national training example, a cautionary tale for departments responding to mental health calls. Christian was no danger. He was scared. He called for help. The body cam shows a frightened man, alone at night, silent except when pleading for mercy, "Lord, hear me." His death wasn't a lapse, it was a failure of humanity. The officers could have listened. They could have waited. Instead, they shot first. Christian Glass's life ended because no one treated his crisis as real. More than training or settlements, his death demands empathy. True justice may never bring him back, but his story changes laws, policies, and hopefully how police respond to those they're sworn to protect. And this wasn't the only time help became a death sentence. She dialed 911, terrified. Her own mother had called hours before, pleading, "Please don't send a prejudiced cop. I'm scared." On her doorstep, Sonya Massey greeted deputies with hands raised and please don't hurt me. And then, Deputy Sean Grayson shot her 3 times in the face. Inside her own home. In seconds. Sonya Lynn I. Massey, 36, called 911 on July 6, 2024, reporting someone banging on her house outside Springfield, Illinois. Her mother, Donna Massey, had already called 16 hours earlier, explaining Sonya was in the middle of a severe mental health episode, fearing conspiracies. "My child needs help, not harm," Donna pleaded. She warned the dispatcher, "Please don't send combative policemen. I'm scared of the police." The responding officers knocked and entered. The body cam shows Sonya, wearing a robe, speaking calmly. She looked through paperwork, her phone, appeared confused but coherent. Deputies confirmed no stranger was found outside, then asked her to remove a boiling pot of water from the stove. Sonya picked up the pot. At one point she declared, "I rebuke them in the name of Jesus." The tone changed instantly. Deputy Grayson looked directly at her, grabbed his weapon, and threatened, "I swear to God, I'll fucking shoot you in the fucking face." Sonya ducked behind the kitchen counter. She raised her hands and softly said, "I'm sorry." Deputies demanded, "Drop the fucking pot." Within seconds Grayson fired 3 shots, one fatally striking her below the left eye. She collapsed to the floor. A partner officer radioed in, "Shots fired," while Grayson remarked coldly, "Nah, she's done. That's a headshot." EMS later pronounced her dead at the hospital. Sean Grayson had a turbulent past, discharged from the Army for misconduct, multiple DUI convictions, and 6 rapid-fire police jobs in Illinois over 4 years. This shooting was the latest chapter in a pattern of red flags ignored by multiple departments. When the body cam footage was released weeks later, there was mass outrage. Civil rights attorney Ben Crump represented the family and condemned the actions firmly: inexcusable, unacceptable, criminal. President Biden and Vice President Harris condemned the killing, urging Congress to pass the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act. Investigators charged Grayson with 3 counts of first-degree murder, aggravated battery, and official misconduct, and he was fired the same day. The DOJ launched a civil rights probe into Sangamon County policing practices. In early 2025, the Massey family received a $10 million settlement, one of the largest police-related payouts in Illinois. The agreement is paired with legislative reforms demanding thorough background checks of officers and stricter accountability measures. Illinois passed Sonya Massey's bill to tighten officer screening standards. The criminal trial, relocated due to publicity, is scheduled for October 2025 in Peoria. Sonya was a mother, daughter, Christian believer. She lifted a pot of water, not a weapon, and better than she meant no harm. Deputy Grayson chose fear over empathy, resignation over restraint. Her last words, "I'm sorry," echo in the video. They reflect the tragedy of a mental health crisis met with violence, not care. She was killed inside her home, her sanctuary turned into her final scene. Sonya Massey called for help. Her mother begged for mercy. Victor Perez. Christian Glass. They weren't threats. They were terrified. And they were failed, by the very people meant to protect them. If you believe mental health deserves compassion, not confrontation, subscribe now. Tell the world their names. Demand justice. Help make sure this never happens again.